Hi, I'm David Reaves. This is my week 5 project for my criminal procedures class for my criminal justice degree. We had a list of cases that we were to look at and research, and I went through quite a few of them, and I came across one that had to do with Fourth Amendment warrantless searches, and it caught me by surprise because it was decided by the Supreme Court in 2006. So my initial thought immediately was, how is it that 50 years after most Fourth Amendment cases were decided, are we still in the process of figuring out Fourth Amendment warrantless searches clear up into the 21st century? So I decided on the case of Georgia versus Randolph. That was decided in 2006, and it had to do with an estranged wife who allowed police to enter a home, and she gave consent for a search. However, the husband did not, and he was present and refused the search vehemently over and over. Of course, they found some drug paraphernalia. I think they convicted him on cocaine charges. The court suppressed his motion, or they denied his motion to suppress the evidence on the basis of warrantless search. But however, the Georgia Court of Appeals reversed this issue on the grounds that even though he didn't give his, even though she gave her consent, he did not give his. So the U.S. Supreme Court saw the case, heard the case, and they verified this. They did cite a case that was United States versus Matlock. That was previous. And this was a case where one occupant of the house gave permission for a warrantless search, but the other occupant did not. However, the difference in these two cases is that the other occupant was not there. He or she was not there to refuse the search. So it was held up in court. The U.S. Matlock case was held up in court as he still was that it wasn't a violation because they weren't there to say no. So my initial thought while researching this and reading it, studying it, was that what about the cases of minors and children? If a police officer approaches a child playing basketball on the front driveway and says, "Son, I need to look in your house," and the son, 10 years old, 12 years old, sees an authoritative figure and says, sure, yeah, go ahead and go inside. Well, what then would be the Fourth Amendment right of the adult who pays taxes, who pays a mortgage, what have you, on the house? And after I did some more researching, I did come across something where it does touch base on this, but it doesn't answer my question wholly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a quote from the case of Section C, which I found on justia.com. And it says here, "No sensible person would enter shared premise based on one occupant's invitation when a fellow tenant said to stay out," which makes sense. "Such reticence would show not timidity, but a realization that when people living together disagree over the use of their common quarters, a resolution must come through voluntary accommodation, not by appeals to authority," which means, the way I took this was that just because somebody is demanding entry into a home and one person says sure because they don't know what to do, or they're mad at the other person, or they're trying to make a point, or who knows, that if another one is standing there that says no, any common person that goes by somebody's house wouldn't just barge in and make entry, whether or not one person says no or 10 or what have you. I completely agree with that charge there. However, it goes on to say, absent, keyword here, absent some recognized hierarchy, example would be a parent and a child. So if a child is standing behind a parent saying no, they can't come in, and the parent is saying yeah, they're coming in, that would be the only way that this would trump one another because the two are occupants of the home, but the parent has a hierarchy over the child. That is the only example they give, because they go on to say there is no societal or legal understanding of superior and inferior as between co-tenants, unless it's the hierarchy standard of a parent and a child. So that answered my question as far as if a child was to say, yeah, come on in, and the parent said no, well, it would withhold in court because of Georgia versus Randolph. But then my next thought was, what if an officer was across the street and waited for the parent to leave to run to the store or the bank, or even waited for the bus to drop the child off, knowing the parents don't get home from work till 5 o'clock? The parent's not there to refuse, however, the child is. I agree with Georgia versus Randolph in the fact that if one person says no, no matter what the deal is, I wouldn't make entry as a private citizen, not as an officer, but as a private citizen, I wouldn't make entry. However, I do believe that we might revisit this in the future on grounds of minors, children, what constitutes a minor, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, whereas mom wants the police to shock them into being good, what have you. I do think that we might be coming back to this kind of case in the future concerning Fourth Amendment warrantless search rights. It was great to be able to study this specific case. Like I said initially, I figured all this kind of warrantless searches and Fourth Amendment stuff would be taken care of, but it has been a pleasure to get the understanding that laws, our current Constitution, constantly changes. The things that go on in our lives have definitely changed, and there will always be room to improve or to add upon. Thank you so much.